Day, which means throwing shade at the end of the show. So get ready for throwing shade. That we do this every Wednesday. Gonna be a fun way to end our show today. But some news out of the NFL last night and yesterday with Denver Broncos star defensive player Von Miller out, at least for week one against the Broncos, and what's feared to be for the entire season. So we'll react to Von Miller being gone for Titans Broncos, the impact that has on the week one matchup for Monday Night Football. That's now the days are five days away from Titans Broncos. But a big deal here with Von Miller unavailable for the Broncos for the season is what it's feared. Then a conversation we've been planning for quite some time, and that is the best divisions in football. We'll go through, we'll figure out where the AFC South ranks in the AFC divisions. We'll go through the NFC divisions and figure out which division is the best in all of football, and then we'll get to throwing shade. Where Zach, I've already mentioned my blood pressure is through the roof this morning from what happened to me in the kitchen today already. So throwing shade will be a good release of stress for me towards the end of the show.
So you're throwing shade at yourself.
Yes,
that's always good. It's self-awareness. It's accountability. I respect when you throw shade at yourself.
I'll tease it this way. It is the biggest mess I could have possibly made in my own kitchen this morning.
And it's your fault, right?
It's absolutely 1,000%.
You're taking full responsibility.
There was nobody else in the kitchen. It was just me, and I made a humongous mess. And it started my day off on the wrong side of this.
My shade has to do with Florida and Canada. That's all I'll say. All right. Before we get going, bottom right corner of your screen, you'll see those three little dots. You can share the show that way. We need you to share the show. Pop our show up in your Twitter followers timeline. How that works out is you hit those three little dots and you retweet the broadcast. We are going to have a good show because we did find some news out yesterday that does help the Titans. It's unfortunate because it is an injury, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. Mike Vrabel once eloquently said, you are 100% of the time going to get hurt when you play football, which is the facts. I mean,
you're not as eloquently. He said the injury rate in the NFL is 100%.
Well, 100% of the time, every time. It's not like Sex Panther, which is only 66% of the time, every time. This is 100% of the time. And unfortunately, this is a couple of times for Von Miller. Before we start this show, though, for Facebook and also YouTube and Twitch, what's going on? For our Facebookers, bottom left corner of your screen, share now to public. That is share now to public. Sharing is caring. We need to pop up in your Facebook friends' news feed. We got to get a lot of opinions in, not only about the injury that we were just talking about, but also best in the NFL. This is going to be a really good conversation because just like the NBA has kind of spread out, I feel like there's so many good teams in the NFL going into 2020.
No doubt. Let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at A to Z Sports, like our Facebook page at A to Z Sports Nashville. We're Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, and we go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time. Got to thank our sponsors because they make it all happen for our show and for you guys. RentersWarehouse.com is where to go to find out how much your home can rent for. They're the professional landlords in the Nashville area, RentersWarehouse.com. Mandu, the pulse of fitness, where one 15-minute workout equals 5 hours in the weight room. Your first workout's free at mandu.com. The Tucker Agency, Nashville's independent insurance agency. Hit them up at tuckertn.com. Calvin and Subtle for any of your hardwood flooring and finishing needs, calvinandsettle.com. And the Bone and Joint Institute of Tennessee. Injuries happen, right? Like Von Miller. When your injury occurs, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care here in the mid-state. So, Zach, Von Miller out. And, it's like we're obligated to say it sucks to see one of the game's best defensive players be lost for the season before the season even starts. And let's just go ahead and send this over to Ian Rappaport on our Wilson County Hyundai clip of the day, talking about what happened in Denver Broncos practice yesterday with star Von Miller.
Brutal news for the Denver Broncos and their defense, and Von Miller one of the best pass rushers in the NFL and certainly the best player on the Broncos defense. He is feared to be out for the season. That was the initial diagnosis, and the MRI then confirmed that diagnosis. He suffered a lower leg injury, an ankle injury in practice. My understanding, it is the ankle tendon that was injured by Von Miller really, really late in practice. They were almost done. Kind of a freaky, weird injury. He went down, and everyone there knew it was serious, had the MRI. Again, that confirmed, and now he is going to go to Dr. Robert Anderson. That is going to be on Thursday, the noted foot specialist in Green Bay, just to confirm that he is, in fact, out for the season and headed for surgery.
Well, there you go. That's a big blow to the Denver Broncos, and that clip was brought to you, and all of our clips are brought to you by Wilson County Hyundai. We got some exciting news that we announced last week that includes our pregame, halftime, and postgame show. It will continue this season, and the title sponsor right there, Titan Game Day Live, brought to you by Wilson County Hyundai, just cruising in that Palisade. They are our title sponsor for this year's shows. Look, those are massive shows because it's live reaction. You can't get that anywhere besides A to Z Sports. We're going to have you covered all year long. So special thanks to Wilson County Hyundai for that clip and for sponsoring the title sponsorship of Titan Game Day Live. Austin, big blow to the Denver Broncos. Von Miller, I mean, he's top 10 pass rusher in this league.
Oh, I mean, you could probably go top 5, and I think everybody's comfortable with saying that's Von Miller. It was crazy as I was reading about Von Miller to realize that he's been in the NFL long enough to be an 8-time Pro Bowler. So, like, the fact that Von Miller is a Hall of Fame in the waiting type of guy. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's the last member of that Super Bowl defense with the Broncos from Peyton Manning's years. But this is I mean, we're not playing big deal, small deal, or no deal today, but this is a humongous big deal for the Denver Broncos because the Broncos were setting themselves up behind second-year quarterback Drew Lock with a lot of brand new shiny toys on the outside on the offense with Jerry Jeudy and Sutton from last year who's growing. Noah Fant was a high pick a year ago. Drew Lock has his college tight end Albert O, also from Missouri. They've got Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay in the backfield as well. The offensive line is missing Jawan James at right tackle. He opted out for the season. But the defense was pretty impressive last year, and it was the worst game I think we've ever watched. It was Titans-Broncos 16-0, and the Broncos defense shut out the Titans offense when Mariota's career came to an end as a starter. But this is a humongous loss because Von Miller set the tone of that Broncos defense, and he would have lined up against Dennis Kelly. And if there's one weakness on the Titans offense, it's that right side of the offensive line. Definitely weaker than the rest of the offensive line and weaker than the rest of the offense. So this is a massive deal for the Broncos, who were trying to push for a wild card spot in a year where they had high hopes for their offense. Now they don't have their best defensive player.
Yeah, a lot of other people in the comment section talking about Bradley Chubb, the Broncos' number 5 overall pick from a couple of years ago out of NC State. He was also listed. He was listed on the injury report with a knee. So that's not great for the pass rush, right? It's kind of crazy how flipped it's been. The Titans had question marks. They didn't know if Vic Beasley was even going to show his face. And then all of a sudden, they've got Jadeveon Clowney, and the Broncos got their starter in Chubb on the injury report, and Von Miller ain't going to play. That's luck of the draw. I don't know what that is, but that is a turn for the two-tone blue. That's big time. So this gets us to our question, Austin. Before we do get to our question, Austin, I just want to. We haven't talked about this, but yesterday's show, we said what were the Titans? What should they expect for Jadeveon Clowney? Were you able to see the details of that contract?
Yeah, where I know he gets $1 million bonus if he gets 10 sacks, right?
Incentivized. So
right, now, of course the Titans should do that.
I did guess that right. Where the Titans
no.
Absolutely expected 10 sacks.
Let's not get into that.
Yeah, take that job and shove it.
Because nobody gets incentivized for 8 sacks.
How do you know?
That's just not.
You don't know how NFL contracts work. So boom goes the dynamite.
Yeah, well,
Here's
okay.
the question. Here's the question. How much of an impact does Von Miller's injury have, though, for this game? You talked about the resume of Von Miller, but for this actual overall game, we know the Titans, and I've said it before, they play the Broncos and then at home against the Jags. If they can start 2-0, the percentages are in their favor to make the playoffs and make a return trip. But how much of an impact on a scale of 1 through 10? I am curious. The numbers are going to be high. I don't think that they're going to be low,
Right.
but how high are they going to be?
Right. Before we get your answers and our opinions on this question, and we're going to talk about injuries, and I didn't mean to do this, but Bone and Joint Institute, if you do get hurt in life or your son or daughter playing sports has an injury, you want to make sure they get the best recovery possible. And in the mid-state, that is the Bone and Joint Institute of Tennessee, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. They do everything in that one building. They don't send you all over town for different imaging, for surgery centers, for rehab facility. It's all right there. It's state of the art. They have over a dozen doctors that specialize in anything you could possibly do to hurt yourself. So when that injury occurs, make sure you go to the best, boneandjointtn.org.
A to Z Sports. The question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's the impact? 10 being massive, the most impact, 1 being it's just a drop in the bucket. It doesn't really even matter. With Von Miller being out for Monday night's game, Titans, Broncos, got a lot of comments rolling in, a lot of high numbers. Jeff says 8. Randy says 9. Houston says 10. Nate John says 7.5. Frank goes with a 7. Kevin goes with a 9. Ronnie Sneed says 9. Nate says 7. Huge impact because of Dennis Kelly and Nate Davis. Those are the only question marks on the line from Jason. Scott says huge impact at a 9. Corey says 8.975. Titan says 8. Casey's still pissed and is giving his all for his new team.
He's giving all the info. All the Titans info.
And Lewis says 10. Yannick says 9. Jabu says 9. Jeff says 9. Let's see. Dustin says 8. James says 7. Andrew says 8.5. Austin, where are you on this scale?
Well, I think in order to answer this correctly, we have to what would a 10 be, right? If the Titans lost Tannehill or Derrick Henry, that would be a 10 on this scale. Who are the two most?
Correct in the Titans sense. A quarterback obviously brings a lot more weight.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to figure out. I'm trying to find out what's appropriate for this. For the Denver Broncos, who are the two most important people for the Broncos? I think it's Drew Lock, the quarterback, just because because Drew Lock's going to be an amazing Pro Bowl quarterback this year by any means. I don't know. But it's the quarterback position and the best player behind the quarterback, and that is Von Miller. So I don't know why it's not a 10 for everybody. This is a massive deal.
Philip Lindsay is pretty damn good, Mike.
Yeah, but he's not 8-time Pro Bowl Hall of Fame.
Well, he hasn't played 8 years.
I understand that, but Philip Lindsay's fine, but he's a running back, and he's not
he's
Derrick.
Fine. Okay, don't discredit Philip Lindsay.
Okay, he's a good running back, but he's not one of the best in the game like Von Miller is. I don't know how you're trying to compare Von Miller and Philip Lindsay's
I'm not. You're discrediting Philip Lindsay.
No,
he's had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons.
Whoop-de-doo. Von Miller, Zach is one of the best in the NFL at rushing the passer, and we always reference this. There are the 4 most important positions in football. It is the quarterback, it is the offensive tackle to protect the quarterback, it is the pass rusher, and the cover guy. And Von Miller is one of those 4. Philip Lindsay is not. Now, the Titans are set up differently with Derrick Henry, but this is a massive deal. This can't be anything other than a 10. This is a 10 because Von Miller had an opportunity to wreck the Titans offense in Mile High. There's not going to be any fans there, so it's a different atmosphere. But the Broncos really good at home in their season opener, and Buck talked about that last night at primetime. This can't be anything other than a 10 in my opinion.
It absolutely can. It's not a 10.
Okay.
A quarterback yields a 10.
And
so your scale is off. It's just incorrect.
No, it's not. He's the best player on the damn team. He's the best player on the team.
The quarterback position impacts the game in football more than any other player, correct?
No doubt. No doubt. No
If
doubt.
your quarterback is not out, it cannot be a 10, bro. Your math doesn't add up.
No, what are you talking about? There's not only one 10. I said for the Titans, if Tannehill or Henry were out, that's a 10. And this to start the season. For the Broncos, their two most important players for the outcome of the game are their quarterback, Drew Lock, and Von Miller. Von Miller is such a huge part of this team's success or failure. Von Miller not being there is an absolute 10 in this game.
Hunter says Von Miller was the MVP of the Super Bowl. That's a 10. Hunter, do you know what year that was? It was 2015. So come on, don't act like that was yesterday. I agree with Dustin. Austin's gone a little bit crazy on this.
How have I gone crazy?
It is not a 10.
Well, Stacy says Austin is right so far. So like you've got one guy calling me crazy.
Doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yes, sure, okay.
But for this conversation, like here, Sean asked you a question. Can the Broncos win without him?
I don't think so. I don't think the Broncos can beat the Titans.
There's no possible way that the Broncos can win without Von Miller.
I think the Titans are absolutely winning this game. It's guaranteed. Guaranteed win.
There's no possible way the Broncos can win.
I mean, if the Titans do stupid things like fumble the ball,
then there's just not a 10. Thank you for solidifying that.
It's absolutely a 10.
So this is why it's not a 10. Look, it's high on the scale. I think it's probably like a 9.1, 8.9. Right in that range. It's not a 10 because he doesn't play quarterback. And the other reason that you failed to mention, Austin, is when is Von Miller at his best? When he pins his ears back and just rushes the quarterback. That's not the Titans offense. It's not like he's playing a team that is pass heavy. He's playing a team that is run heavy. So therefore it cannot be a 10 based on those two reasons. Not a quarterback and not facing a pass-happy offense. So, there's why it's not a 10.
You're acting like Von Miller's good against the run, too. Like
but he's great against the pass. There's a difference.
Okay. I think, and let's read some more comments here on A to Z Sports. Brian says, Von Miller is a game wrecker. He is on the scouting report and in this season where there's not a preseason or regular offseason, his season injury impact on the Broncos is big time. He thinks it's a 10. Let's see. Sean says no Miller plus no Chubb equals W for the Titans. Now, the official injury report, I don't think is supposed to come out until later today for the entire NFL. So we'll keep our eye out for the Titans injury report later on too. Jeff says Austin is right. Von Miller is the face of the Broncos. Tommy says, I can never say a 10 for the Titans because they always seem to lose games they should win. The Bills, yes. Joseph says, I think it was a stretch. The Broncos won before the injury. Now, with Vaughn out, there's no chance. Andrew says the Titans will demolish the Broncos. So let's see. Dustin right there. Bingo, Zach. Rob says Miller hasn't been an impact player since that Super Bowl. That's ridiculous to say. Johnny says Vaughn doesn't play offense and Locke was good last year. Titans have to worry about that. Let's see. Scott says a 10 score means they will automatically lose. That is not right. So
I agree with that.
So what was your number?
It was a 9.1.
9.1. So you're 0.9 away from me and calling me asinine and crazy.
Well, yeah, because a 10, do you not know how scales work? You can't go higher than a 10.
I know that. And Von Miller's the best player.
He doesn't play quarterback, Austin Stanley.
I understand.
He does not play quarterback.
I mean,
maybe one more important position.
Okay.
There's one important position. The most important is quarterback.
So did you create the rules where the quarterback is the only thing that can be a 10?
No, that's the fact.
That's
you admitted that the quarterback is the most important player on the team. You said that. I didn't say it.
I said the quarter, obviously.
That's right.
Yes, but again, that has nothing to do with this. Von Miller's the best player on the team, and he plays one of the most important positions on the field.
One of, not the.
Okay, dude, we're splitting hairs here. You say it's a 9.1.
Splitting hairs is not a 10. You can't go any higher.
I know that. That's how important Von Miller is to the Denver Broncos. He is absolutely a 10. Losing Von Miller is absolutely a 10. I bet Denver and
who's the backup quarterback for the Broncos?
I don't know. But
exactly. That's why it's not a 10.
Who's the backup pass rusher for the Broncos?
If Drew Lock was out, then that's a 10.
I agree, Zach. I said that too. I said if there are two players for the Denver Broncos that are worth a 10 on the how big of a deal is it that they're out, it's Drew Lock and Von Miller. So I don't know why you keep making the quarterback point. I agree about that. But Von Miller is right up there.
They're not the same, though. You said right up there. They're not the same. Quarterback is more important than a defensive pass rusher.
Well, and ask the Denver Broncos the last time they won the Super Bowl, who was the game wrecker and who actually won that game. The defense did. Von Miller had a huge impact. Peyton Manning had to hand the ball off on 3rd and long because he couldn't throw it very far. So the Denver Broncos know that Von Miller helped them win a Super Bowl when their offense was bad.
Helped. That was 5 years ago, too.
Okay. Dude, what is you? He's a 10, dude. Von Miller is
he's not a 10.
Von
the
Miller's
quarterback is the only position that yields a 10, dude.
In your opinion. In my opinion, Von Miller also is worth that. All right, Michael says, does Zach think Henry wouldn't be a 10 if he was out? If Derrick Henry was out for the year, how would you feel about that?
Yeah, well, Derrick Henry is different. Derrick Henry is you have a 10. I think Derrick Henry would probably be a 9.7, I would say.
So now we're splitting points.
Tannehill's a 10.
Yes.
You can't, the whole premise, Austin, is you can't go any higher, right? You've hit your ceiling. Do you understand
I'm aware, yes. And the best player on the team usually hits the ceiling. Not having the best.
What Ryan Tannehill did last year, the Titans would still have a chance. So it can't be a 10. You're losing Derrick Henry can't be a 10.
Why? The whole offense runs
because
behind
the Titans still have an opportunity to win because they have a quarterback. If Tannehill's out and Logan Woodside is the quarterback, they cannot win.
I think both Tannehill and Henry are 10s. If they're out for the year, Titans aren't going very far.
You don't think Tannehill can win a game?
Oh, he can.
He showed you that last year. He won games where Derrick Henry was not needed.
I mean, for that, we'll have to go back and look at specific examples. But again, like Tannehill and Henry
he single-handedly beat Oakland by himself. There's a great example.
Henry ran for over 100 yards in that game too. Actually he didn't because that's when he hurt his hamstring and that stopped the streak. But he was really good in that.
But really good. There, I just gave you an example right off the top of the dome.
All right, Jeff says, what would Aaron Donald be, Zach?
It wouldn't be a 10. The quarterback is the only position that yields a 10, guys.
Okay,
I don't have to say it more times.
Okay. All right. A to Z Sports here live on this Wednesday. We're going to have to move forward just because Zach's not going to understand that we can have different scales. Dustin said,
look, you can have a different scale. It's just wildly wrong. Like you can't go any higher. That's the problem.
I know, and I think Von Miller's that big of a deal. That's my opinion. All right.
If you're not the most important position on the team, you can't be that.
I think you can. He's the best player on the team by far. Von Miller is the best player on the Denver Broncos, and he's out for the year.
Just like Brett Kern. Brett Kern is one of the best players.
Not the best. He's one of the best.
Exactly. That's why he cannot yield a 10.
I didn't say Brett, but Brett Kern's a special.
No, he plays a different position.
Zach, do not try to compare this punter versus one of the best pass rushers in the NFL.
Brett Kern is one of the best punters in the NFL.
I understand. And the punter is important, but get out of here if you're trying to compare the punter to the pass rusher.
That's comparing the positions compared to the quarterback.
And that's stupid. We know.
No, that's not.
Yes,
that's
hard. No, it's not.
They're less important. The punter and the pass rusher are less important than the quarterback.
Yeah, but there's a humongous. Don't even act like you. What the hell are you talking about? You have lost your freaking mind, dude. Blake, yes, you're stretching, buddy. Because Zach, get the hell out with you thinking you can say, oh yeah, the pass rusher and the punter are less important than the quarterback. No, damn. I mean, you're making me. I'm trying to not cuss right now because you're being so idiotic with what you're talking about.
Your scale
That's
doesn't
so
make sense
stupid.
based on
Yes,
that.
it does. Get the hell out.
No,
with
it
your
doesn't.
Pass rusher punter comparison. That's so stupid.
You
So dumb. That's one of the
you're
dumbest
not
things you brought
the
up.
quarterback's the only 10.
All right. Now my blood pressure is even higher than it was when I spilled stuff in the kitchen this morning. Okay. So, Zach, we are going to find out where the AFC South ranks in the toughest divisions in the NFL. I've got where the AFC South is right now, but I'm curious to see what you think about this. Before you do that, go ahead and tell the people about Calvin and Subtle.
Yeah, Calvin and Subtle is where you need to get your hardwood floors. 615-448-6414. That's 615-448-6414 is the phone number, or online at calvinandsubtle.com. Simple as this. You give them a call. They come out to your house, use the CDC precautions. Take a look. What are you trying to do? You're trying to rip up that carpet from your living room? You're trying to rip up that carpet from your bedroom? Replace it with hardwood floors. Upgrade the equity of your house by calling Calvin and Subtle, 615-448-6414. And the best part is 1 to 2 weeks, they'll order the material and install. You cannot beat that. calvinandsubtle.com.
All right, A to Z Sports, mybookie.ag. Look, I'm just telling you, you go on there, mybookie.ag, and bet on the Titans to beat the Broncos after that Von Miller injury, and that would be a smart thing to do. Code MyTitans at mybookie.ag will double your first deposit. Code MyTitans to double your first deposit at mybookie.ag. Tomorrow, I will have Titans bets you should make before the season starts, so get ready for that. Mybookie.ag. So, Zach, where do you think the AFC South ranks in the NFL's toughest divisions? And we're going to go through the AFC and the NFC independently, but the AFC South is a strange division. And you can think about, like, a lot of people think around the NFL, the AFC South sucks, right? That's what people view the AFC South if they're not in it. But if you look at what the AFC South has actually done over the last 6 years, 3 teams have made the AFC title game in the Titans, the Colts, and the Jags. And then the Texans have won the division in 4 of the last 6 years. So there's a lot of parity in the AFC South over the last 6 years or so. And it's a pretty talented division, but a lot of people don't give it that much credit.
Yeah, it's not. It is the 3rd best division in the NFL. That's where I have it ranked.
Really?
The hard part is the Jags bring it down, right? But you have the Titans, AFC Championship appearance, the Texans, who won the division and have a franchise quarterback, and I think are going to be better than we think. A franchise quarterback can mask a lot of issues, even without DeAndre Hopkins. Plus, their defense, it's not slaw. They still have got good defensive players. And Bill O'Brien, more hate him than love him, but he has coached his team to winning seasons on a regular basis. The other catalyst, as we know, the Colts have gotten exponentially better. They just have. That's the reason why they're still the favorites to win the division. They have a known commodity in Phillip Rivers, even though his age is there. But this is the 3rd best division in the NFL. Because of that, it could be the 2nd or the 1st if the Jags weren't so putrid.
Well, in most divisions they're strong, there's typically like a weak spot, right? Like the Bears are holding back the NFC North. The Vikings, the Lions, and the Packers are all trying to win the division this year in that division, and the Bears suck, right?
Well, the Lions
Jags,
suck.
the Lions
blow. They won 3 games last year.
A lot of people have high expectations and think the Lions can earn a wild card spot this year.
They always do, and they always never do.
Well, but Matt Stafford was out. But again, my point is, there's usually one team in a strong division that's really, really bad. Like a couple of years ago with the NFC West, the Cardinals were really bad. Now the Cardinals are vastly improving too. So with the AFC South, I just think, where do you have them? Do you have them the best team in the AFC, the best division in the AFC? If you have them,
yes, I do.
You have the AFC South as the best division in the AFC.
It is,
and that's interesting because I don't. I have the AFC South 2nd in the conference behind the AFC North. And that's because I think the Ravens are a tier ahead of everybody in the
Too
South.
many question marks in that division. That's why that can't be the case.
Hold on. I think it absolutely can. The Ravens are elite as a football team going into the season. They're right there with the Chiefs. I think there's only 2 AFC teams you can call elite. It's those 2, Ravens, Chiefs. I think after that, there's a group of others that are really strong, but have some type of weakness. And I think the Steelers were 8-8 last year without Ben Roethlisberger. And even if Ben Roethlisberger doesn't come back and he's how he was before he got hurt, he's going to be way better than Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges was. And the Steelers still have a really good defense, and they have the ability to now score some points with Ben Roethlisberger back. And I think the Bengals, because Joe Burrow, they're going to be way better than they were a year ago. The Cleveland Browns, even though the Browns are a laughingstock to a lot of people, and
they haven't proved anybody right,
but they still have a lot of talent. And I think the Browns have the ability to at least beat up on some people.
They never do. That's the problem. That is their MO. The Browns, they're like the Lions. You know, this is going to be their year. This is going to be. They finally got things together. They never have that ever. So, like you saying that, I understand it because everybody says it every year, but that never happens. So I discredit it.
I think the reason why I picked the AFC North over the AFC South is because the Ravens are better than everybody in the South. And I think the Steelers are really good. And I've been high on the Steelers bouncing back. And I think the Ravens are going to win that division. Don't get me wrong. But I think the Steelers are going to make the playoffs. They always make the playoffs when Ben Roethlisberger's healthy. And I think they're going to make the playoffs. And I think the Titans and the Colts are really good. The Texans have taken a step back. I don't think the combination of Titans-Colts is better than the combination of Ravens-Steelers. That's why I had the AFC North. And I also think the Bengals are better than the Jags. And I think the Browns-Texans, I will give the edge to the Texans. But at the top, I think Ravens-Steelers is what puts the AFC North as the number 1 division in the conference for me.
Yeah, I just can't get on board with the Browns and the Bungles. Like I get your point. The Ravens are what they are, and there are question marks about the Steelers. It's kind of like bizarro Browns, right? You assume the Steelers are going to be good because you're used to that. You assume that the Browns are going to suck because you're used to that, right? That's just kind of how it is. We'll find that out. I am looking forward to seeing what the Steelers do this season. I think the South has improved, and it is it's credit to the Tennessee Titans, though. One of the reasons why I have that is the emergence of the Titans. How much better they've gotten with the leading rusher in the NFL, with how Tannehill played, now with Jadeveon Clowney, with a head coach that knows what the hell he's doing in Mike Vrabel and has some years of experience. That goes way up. And you go with the Colts and what they were able to do. The Colts midway through last season were like 6-2. Right? And
they were 5-1, and then Brissett got hurt, and they had to have Brian Hoyer, and they just crashed and burned the rest
right?
of it.
And so with Phillip Rivers, you would assume that's a good quality team. They got good running backs. T.Y. Hilton is solid. Their defense with Leonard is nasty and has some really good qualities. I think overall, the AFC North is top heavy with the Ravens. I do think that the Ravens are going to take a slight step back. I don't think that they're going to go 14-2. I think they're more probably 12-4.
Well, because the Steelers are going to be better, and the Browns are going to be better, and the Bengals are going to be better.
Right? But I expect the Titans to be better. I expect the Colts to be better. And I expect the Texans to be right around the same they were.
All right, so what's the best division in the AFC right now? We're going to read some comments. What's the best division in the AFC? Ronnie says the North is the best division. Austin Sloan's laughing at the Browns and Steelers. Come on. Want to get some more. Houston says AFC West. AFC West has the Chiefs, and then they have the Broncos, who just lost their best player. So I don't necessarily think that's a good take there for the AFC West. Chad says the North is not better than the South. Let's see more comments. Let's see. Desi on YouTube says AFC South. Sawyer going with the North. Damon says the AFC West. Come on, Damon. I thought you were smarter than that. The AFC West, There's no way the AFC West is better than the South and the North.
Well, two teams, right? A lot of people think that the Raiders and the Broncos are going to take that step. That's the key. The Chiefs are what they are, but they're betting on the Ravens or the Raiders and the Broncos. Problem is, what just happened to Von Miller doesn't help. Does not help. It's not a 10 like that, but it doesn't help the Broncos and the Raiders. I don't know. I just don't know about Derek Carr. They've helped him out with some pieces around him. John Gruden has won a Super Bowl. We do know that.
I expect the Raiders to fall apart when the tough stuff happens. I think the Raiders will crumble. I don't view them like they got talent. Like I don't know what Henry Ruggs is going to do this year. He's fast, and they've got Darren Waller, who I really like as a tight end. But
and is Tyrod Taylor starting for the Chargers?
Yeah, and then you can right.
Well, then no, thank you.
The Chargers are irrelevant, right? Again, like the Chargers are the team in that division that are really, really distant fourth.
This is funny. Bobby brings this up. Let's just take a Mariota moment real quick. Shocker. Mariota on the IR already. Isn't that hilarious? And I think it's a hard pill to swallow. And we've had some truths told on this show through comments of the Mariota lovers. Because look, the Titans fans, you should like Mariota when he was drafted and what he did. He helped bridge the gap and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's a hard pill to swallow to admit for all the Mariota apologists to know that he sucks. He blows. He's no good. We do that.
And he can't stay healthy because it's a different injury. This is the pectoral injury. Like when Marcus Mariota has never hurt his pec before. And now all of a sudden he has. It's just like he's checking off the boxes of injuries that he could possibly have. Let's see. Johnny says, I'll say the North and the South close second. Orlando says the North is definitely better, has better defense than the South, the Steelers and Ravens alone. Titans 212 says, I think the Chargers are the second best team in that West division. The Chargers also lost Derwin James for the year again. So that's a big blow there. Justin, the Chiefs are overrated, and that's all for that comment. So I think you say AFC South, the number one division in the AFC, and you had the South as the third best division in all of football.
Yes.
I had the AFC South as the fifth best division in all of football. I think because the NFC is that strong, I've got the NFC very, very top heavy in this conversation. So now let's do this. Let's jump over to the NFC. What is the toughest division in the NFC going into the season? So get your comments coming here. Because this is a tough one. What is the toughest division in the NFC? But first, let me tell you about Renters Warehouse. They're the professional landlords in the Nashville area. RentersWarehouse.com is where to go to find out how much your home can rent for. There are so many different ways you can use Renters Warehouse during this pandemic and during these crazy times. Don't panic sell your home if your income is lower and your mortgage is biting deeper into that income. RentersWarehouse.com can help you out. Help you get that mailbox money, create extra cash flows, secondary income. RentersWarehouse.com is where to go.
A to Z Sports. Also, this is some big news. So yesterday, if you watched, advanced to the AFC Championship game, which is big time, right? But we didn't know who it was going to be because the stream froze. Well, the announcement is official. Today at 11:45, the Tennessee Titans will be playing the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins beat the Broncos yesterday in the divisional round AFC Championship game, Blitz 2001. The quest for the championship, defend the crown. It's back. Titans, Dolphins. Look, that was an upset special. Took all the way down to the wire to beat the Jags. So make sure you tune into that at 11:45. Austin, the question that we're asking, the toughest division in the NFC. You have the AFC South fifth, so that means you have the AFC North between fourth and first. That means you have three NFC divisions in the top five or top three.
Top three. I've got the NFC really strong. I mean, the NFC West, I think, is the best division in football. The weakest team, the Arizona Cardinals, are still a pretty good team and a team that's growing and getting much, much better. The Seahawks the 49ers both have Super Bowl intentions this year. The LA Rams are pissed off because they didn't make the playoffs last year, and they had a winning record. Like the Rams were 9-7 last year and missed the playoffs. So the NFC as a whole is very deep. So I've got the NFC West as the best division in football.
Yeah, I do too. I think it makes the most sense. I think I just tweeted it, or sorry, just tweeted me at this press talking about Cowherd's top 10. He's got the LA Rams as the 10th best team. He doesn't even have the Titans in the top 10.
I mean, that doesn't surprise by any
But
means.
it doesn't make any sense. I'm higher on the Rams than I think a lot of people. I think a lot of people think that the Rams just dropped off. I think that they're still quality. They've got a good coach that will take you further. And Jared Goff just got to get back to his ways. In his offense, look, he's had some injuries happen on his offense the last couple of years, or at least last year.
And they're paying Todd Gurley and Brandon Cooks over $30 million to play for somebody else. So the Rams have cap. The Rams are actually over the cap, and they have until today to get under the salary cap. They have to shed like $500,000 to get under the salary cap for the year. So they're in a tough spot. I think the Rams.
You could argue, and the Seahawks and the 49ers are the two best teams in the conference. I mean, you could say the Saints maybe right there as two to replace the Seahawks or whatever, but that's an outstanding division.
It is. And so we both have the West, NFC West, number one. I have them number one overall in the entire NFL. Number two in the NFC and number two overall. Zach, I have the NFC South. Just because the Saints, as you mentioned, also have Super Bowl intentions this year. So does Tampa Bay. Your Bucks, Zach, want to play a home game in the Super Bowl in February. And with Tom Brady and with some of the other pieces they've gotten, I think that's not crazy to possibly see. Then you have the Falcons, who seem to be like a yo-yo team. Like they have a good year, bad year. Good year, bad year. Last year, bad year. This year, maybe they're trending up. I think the Falcons are a talented team. They got Dante Fowler in free agency. He's better than Vic Beasley, Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley. They've got Todd Gurley, who might be a little hungrier this year. I don't know how healthy he is, but I think the Falcons, to be the third team in the division, the Falcons are pretty dang strong.
Well, I compared them, so I have the same thing. I have the AFC West, or the NFC West, and then the NFC South. The difference was the 1 year difference between the Cardinals and the Panthers. The Panthers are starting with Matt Rule this year, right? They're starting from square one, and the Cardinals have a year leg up on it.
Yes.
That was the difference. That was my difference maker in putting the West above the South, because pretty comparable. Tom Brady and the Bucks, God, I hope they win the Super Bowl. That would be amazing. Drew Brees, we know what Drew Brees is. And the Falcons, they're very similar to the Rams. The Rams have yo-yoed the last couple of years. Super Bowl appearance, then took a step back. The Falcons a few years ago, Super Bowl appearance, then took a step back. We've seen Matty Ice be the MVP, right? So he can play. He has it in him. But Cardinals over the Panthers will win this division for him.
Dustin asked a question. We haven't touched on this. Zach, how do you feel about Leonard Fournette being in Tampa?
I think it's a second opportunity. Sometimes a new face in a new place can help. I mean, and I think that Tom Brady, like the leadership of the Bucks, does not make me concerned about the personality deficiencies of Leonard Fournette, right? He's a diva. He had problems. That was because he could do that in Jacksonville. Bad leadership. They fired Tom Coughlin. Nobody knew who was running the ship. You know Tom Brady, Bruce Arians, Mike Evans, Levante David, the leaders on this team, Ndamukong Suh, even though, look, he's had his question marks, but he's respected. This is a veteran-laden team. That's why I'm excited. I think that, I mean, I was thinking about this the other day, actually. This is what I do in my spare time. I just think about the Bucks. This is a super team. Look, the old super team. This reminds me a lot, and I hope they have a better ending than the Lakers when they had Shaq, Kobe, Karl Malone, Gary Payton, like that whole team, that run when they lost to the Pistons in 04. It very similar to that team where Tom Brady shouldn't be wearing a Bucks jersey, just like Karl Malone shouldn't be wearing a Lakers jersey.
Houston says it's a super team from 2015.
But it's still a super team because they still have look, they've got young pieces. Don't discredit, right?
I kind of view
Evans, Levante David, Devin White. Those are like premier players.
I think, and hold tight while I explain this. I kind of view the Bucks and the Colts in similar situations. They were both 7-9 last year with really bad quarterback play. I mean, the Bucks had a chance to push for the playoffs, and Jameis kept throwing pick sixes that had them lose one possession games, right? You know that. That was painful as hell to go through. He threw 30 picks last year. But they were 7-9 even in a year where he threw 30 interceptions. Like the Colts were 7-9 when Andrew Luck left them right before Labor Day. And they had quarterback issues and injuries down the stretch too. So I kind of view them as 7-9 rosters with bad quarterback play. What happens when you add Phillip Rivers and Tom Brady? I think Tom Brady gets you at least 3 or 4 games compared to Jameis. And I think Phillip Rivers at least gets you 2 games compared to Jacoby Brissett. And that's where those two teams can take a big jump.
Yeah, and so the big difference, and I watched all the games last year, is they had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of their 9 losses were within 1 score. That's the difference between Tom Brady winning some of those games and Jameis Winston losing all of them.
Yeah.
Right. So that I think I look at the Bucks and I say, can they win close games? They should have started 4-0. How crazy is that? They lost to San Francisco because Jameis threw a pick. Surprise. They lost to the New York Giants because Daniel Jones at the end of the game scrambled to run for a touchdown with like 5 seconds left because Jameis threw a pick. Right. So that's the big difference for the Bucks. They have to make the playoffs. Do you know who their quarterback was the last time they made the playoffs?
Is it Jeff Garcia?
Jeff freaking Garcia. Do you know who he lost to?
No.
Eli Manning, who won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I actually did know that. I answered it too early because I actually didn't remember that. All right, A to Z Sports here live on
Joey Galloway, the White Tiger.
I don't know what.
That was his nickname.
Oh, okay.
That was the celebration.
Oh, okay.
Every time he scored a touchdown, he'd pull his jersey back and forth.
Only you got that. Just so you know. All right. So
half the show I do for myself, so that doesn't matter.
Right. All right, Zach. So where does, and don't answer this right now, where does the AFC South for you stack up when it comes to the overall NFL toughest divisions? Because I think we both agree that the NFC West, the best division in football, but where does the AFC South fall in that? But first, tell the people about the Tucker Agency.
Yeah, Tucker Agency, Tucker TN, that can save you money on your insurance. 20%, that's the average when you email them. Nashville's independent insurance agency, Will Tucker and his team can help you. Life insurance, car insurance, homeowners insurance, renters insurance. Bundle that, put it in a policy, and save money on what you have now. TuckerTN.com. Email will@TuckerTN.com. All you have to do is say, hey, heard about you on A to Z Sports. How can I save money on my insurance? His team will do all the work for you, get you a new policy, money back in your pocket. Will@TuckerTN.com.
All right, A to Z Sports. Don't forget, mybookie.ag, code MyTitans will double your first deposit. Tomorrow, I will have Titans bets that you should make before the season on mybookie.ag, code MyTitans to double your first deposit. So, Zach, I have the AFC South as the 5th best out of 8 division in the NFL. I think It's really close, I think, 3 through 5. Because I'm the AFC North. The AFC North and the AFC South, I think, are pretty tight. And then I also have the NFC North third overall. So
What?
I have them. I have those.
Tell me this.
Okay.
How in the hell is the NFC North better than the AFC South?
You've got the Packers, who are really good with Aaron Rodgers. You have the Vikings, who are one of the most talented teams in the NFL and have a very strong defense.
Lost their best wide receiver.
Okay, that's fine. And I still think they can be okay without him. So Diggs is good.
You're going to fight for the Lions and the Bears. I think that's where
I think the Lions are going to surprise some people. I do. I think the Lions, if the Lions are like around 8-8, 9-7, I think that's a possibility, and they will surprise some people. I just think the North is deeper.
Are the Texans better than the Bears and the Lions?
Definitely better than the Bears. I think the Texans and the Lions this year are a little comparable. But I also think the Packers and the Packers and the Vikings are carrying the division. This is more about the top two.
So the Titans and the Colts are carrying the division, plus Texans 3 is better than 2 the last time, and we don't do math on air, but it doesn't make any sense.
I think the NFC North is strong.
You've said that, but that doesn't make sense on why you've said that.
That's how I think the Packers and the Vikings are that good. That's what I'm predicting. Okay, I'm predicting the Lions to be a surprise wild card push team.
The Lions suck.
And last year they absolutely blew. You're right, and they had a quarterback named Blow, but not anymore. But I think the Lions will be different this year. That's my opinion. So now, where do you have the AFC South?
I have them third because that's where they need to be. I've made my case for the AFC South. The NFC North is just not very good. They're a 2-horse race, and there's 4 horses. So that is confusing.
I think the South is a 2-horse race, and really, the 1 horse, the Titans, are better than the others, the Colts. I think the Vikings and the Packers are really good.
I know. My question is the justifications of the Texans versus the other 2 teams. The Texans are better than the Bears and the Lions.
Last year they were, and the Bears are throw the Bears away.
Who do the Lions have?
Matthew Swift
Stafford is handing off to and throwing to
DeAndre Swift. That's a big change in that. They haven't had a running back since Barry Sanders.
Who does he throw to?
Who's the kid?
You can't name any wide receiver.
I can't name him right now, but the Lions, I think, are taking a big step forward.
That doesn't make any sense. You can't support a team you don't know any of the wide receivers to.
I do know. I just
Your
can't think
silence is deafening.
No, it's a second or third year guy, Galladay. I wanted to call him Michael Gallup, but it's Galladay. Kenny Galladay is a really good player.
There's another wide receiver.
Let's see. They've got Kerryon Johnson.
Look it up. You've lost this. Concede, my friend. Fall and die a slow death in
Marvin
Detroit.
Jones is pretty good. Danny Amendola.
Stop copying it. Stop this. Let's move on. I'm done with that conversation.
Marvin Jones and Kenny Galladay are good wide receivers. You didn't even
say your boy Hawkeye. That is the epitome of you not knowing what the hell is going on.
Again, I think the Lions are going to be like 500. Like I think the Texans are going to be around 500.
It's a learning.
I think okay, Zach, cool, bro. Thanks, Teach. Good job for teaching me that lesson. Congratulations.
Don't support a team that you don't know who the hell you're talking about.
You tried to compare pass rusher and punter earlier this show.
Compared to a quarterback.
Yeah, and that's not the right thing to say.
They are not equivalent. Nobody is equivalent to a quarterback. That
Again,
was the
Zach,
point. And they've gone over your head just like all the wide receivers for the Detroit Lions.
Get out of here with that. That's stupid. All right, so you think the South is third in the entire – again, I think the NFC North, the AFC North, and the AFC South are all really tight. Really tight. But I think the depth overall of the NFC North and the AFC North is better than the AFC South. That's how I feel about that.
Who else do you have the NFC North over?
The AFC North.
So you have the NFC North over the best team, the best division, in your opinion, in the AFC.
The Vikings and Packers are both double-digit win teams. The Lions are around 500. I think the Steelers, the Ravens are going to win like 11 to 12 games. I think the Steelers win 9 or 10. But I think the Packers and the Vikings are overall will have more combined wins than the Ravens and Steelers. The Ravens there's a bigger difference there.
I'm going.
And then I think the Browns.
Wow.
All right. That's fine. You guys can laugh at me all you want. Like I'm not going to make a bet on the Lions either. Like, why would I do that?
Yeah, you don't want to bet because you don't know who that plays for. I'm not sitting here saying that I'm a Lions fanatic, but that was a tough one to.
Zach, I think the Lions will take a massive step forward. I don't know the Lions roster that well. And I haven't had to know the Lions roster that well because there hasn't been any preseason games or any games on TV in 9 months.
I would not jockey for the Lions.
I'm not jockeying for the Lions. I think they're going to be around 500. Like, that's not jockeying for them. That's just saying they're going to be a lot better than they were last year.
We move on.
All right. So, throwing shade.
Talking about Detroit. There's like Detroit. It's probably the least city that I would ever. Buffalo's up there because it's cold as hell, but Detroit has nothing. Their sports teams blow. All of them are awful, right? Pistons, no good. They can't get their act together. The Red Wings, they haven't made the playoffs. They had like 25 straight years. They can't make the playoffs to save their life. And the Lions, nobody knows who the hell plays for them. So, like, there's Detroit in a nutshell. The Tigers, they were good in like 2012 with Verlander, but he's long gone. He's now cheating with the Astros.
Miguel Cabrera, right? They're pretty good.
That was the last time the Lions. I mean, they're just the Tigers. Detroit's a waste. It's a waste of space.
Yeah. All right. Throwing shade here to wrap up the show. I'm throwing shade at myself. My blood pressure has been out of this world because of what happened in my kitchen this morning. So let's do this. Luckily, I have a Mandu workout later on today to help me blow off some steam. Mandu is the pulse of fitness where one 15-minute workout equals 5 hours in the weight room. The science is real. The results are real. I've lost a ton of body fat over the last year plus with Mandu, with the help of Mandu. Mandu.com. Your first workout is absolutely free. So go check them out. Mandu.com. Your first workout is free.
AFC Championship game, 11:45, playing Blitz, live stream. Make sure your notifications are on. A little lunch. It's going to be good. It's going to be real good. Trying to vie for a back-to-back Super Bowl appearance. On the other side of the bracket, I could run into a path where I face the 49ers again. So check that. That's going to be fun at 11:45.
All right, throwing shade here on the show. We do this every Wednesday to end the show. And Zach, I was late to our pre-show call meeting today by about 15 minutes because I made the biggest possible mess I could have made in my kitchen this morning. My breakfast every morning is a protein shake, and I have 2 scoops of protein and about 20 ounces of water. And I filled up that. I haven't shaken it yet, but I set it on my stove. And then I came out of the fridge with something else. Hand came across and knocked over my 20 ounces of protein shake all over the stove. In the stove, eyes all over the place. And it was pooling with water. And I've got 2 dogs, and it's chocolate protein shake. And I definitely don't want them to drink that or lick it up. It was all over the floor. So I had to basically take apart the stove this morning to clean up this nasty protein shake goo all over the place. And I was so mad at myself. I cussed fairly loudly. I startled my wife and startled the dogs. So I'm throwing shade at myself for being careless and for just making the biggest possible mess I could have made in my kitchen this morning. It sucked. It gave me anxiety, and it threw off my morning. That's for sure. So it was throwing shade at myself. I've never done that. I've never spilled 20 plus ounces of protein shake, and I don't recommend it.
So that's never fun. Cleaning up early morning protein shake. I have split protein shake before all over my kitchen, and it stinks. That's the problem.
Luckily, I cleaned it up before. I didn't allow it to dry. I just had to use like a half a roll of paper towels to get this mess up. I hated it. It was miserable.
Right. So we're throwing shade. It's a Wednesday. If you have shade, comment in the comment section on Facebook or on Periscope. We want to hear your shade. So my shade, it has nothing to do with the actual person. It has to do with the people who placed said person in said group. My shade is on these. And look, I've started playing it, but the people at Madden are idiots. They're fools. They don't make any sense in what they're doing. And what they did this week, and I understand the political reasons for it. Again, I get it. I understand the temperature of the room. But in no way is Colin Kaepernick, or should be, rated higher than Ryan Tannehill and Derek Carr when he hasn't played football, a snap of football, since 2016. Colin Kaepernick is 81 overall. He is better in the game than Tannehill, Carr, Cam Newton, Josh Allen, who went to the playoffs last year, Kyler Murray, who was the Rookie of the Year last year, and Ryan Fitzpatrick, who just beat out Tua Tagovailoa in Miami. They put Kaepernick at 81 in Madden. This is a complete political farce. He's not 81 overall. It's a laughable joke. They don't take the ratings seriously. And you know what? That shines poorly upon them. It's not about Kaepernick's political prowess. That's not it. It's about putting the right ratings to the players. He's not better than Ryan Tannehill. Do you know what the record was for the San Francisco 49ers in 2016, Austin?
Was it before Kaepernick got benched? Wasn't it like 2-7?
They overall went 2-14 that year.
Yeah.
They were trash. That's your shade. That should be everybody's shade. He is not better than these quarterbacks. If you want to put him in the game and say why you put him in the game because of the politics that he brings and what he represents for the Black Lives Matter movement, that's okay. But you know where, like Colin Kaepernick right now in 2020, who haven't played a snap, be it why, that doesn't really matter. He hasn't played a snap in 4 years, 4+ years. He should be a 71.
Yeah,
not an 81.
I don't have I think the right decision was to put him in the game as a free agent. Because
I agree with that. I don't have a problem with that.
But the ranking is ridiculous.
Correctly.
Yes, because he hasn't played in 3 years. And the last time he was played, he was benched for Blaine Gabbert. And Zach, we know how the Blaine Gabbert experience goes. Not very well. So, I mean, I agree. The ranking is ridiculous. It's just not even like I had a hard take about the Madden ratings earlier this summer. It's just stupid. And Kane says, dude, it's just a video game.
These players don't think it's just a video game. It's a true representation. So, Kane, what if they had professionals come and rate you at your job and said you were trash, said you were the worst employee on the block, right? Wouldn't you take offense to that? Welcome to Bo Brinkley's world or Dennis Kelly's world or everybody else who's gotten shafted by these ratings. It's like, yes, it is a video game. I don't doubt that, Kane. But this is wildly incorrect. It's factually wrong.
Yeah.
You cannot rate somebody based on-field performance, right?
Like,
it's not about what he's done off the field or anything else or how many kids Philip Rivers has. This is based on-field performance. It also, and look, it is what it is. He hasn't had the ability or really the opportunity to play over the last several years, and we all know why that is, but you have to rate him accordingly. I don't know, it frowns on the product and who runs EA Sports, and that's why, on top of a lot of things, there's a movement out there. You can't kick an extra point because there's a glitch in the game.
Yeah, and
so
here's the ridiculous thing. The last Madden game that Colin Kaepernick was in was Madden 17, which was going into the 2016 season. He was rated a 74 in Madden 17, which was when he was actually an NFL starter. He was a 74 overall. He should have been no higher than that rating.
That makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense. So
I'm
3 years.
Glad you brought that up.
I mean, I think, yeah, because that's the thing is, if anything, the one Madden rating that should be higher for Colin Kaepernick is his health, because he hasn't been taking hits over the last 3 years. His body's healthy, right? After that, everything else should diminish, because you know what happens when you don't do things for 3 years? You get worse at them. Like it diminishes. It's called atrophy. If you don't work out or if you don't do something, and when I did my vertical jump, Zach, back in March before the pandemic hit, what did my high school coach tell me the first thing? The first thing you lose is power. I'm pretty damn sure Colin Kaepernick has lost some power because he hasn't played NFL football in over 3 years. It's an 81 is ridiculous because before any of this started, he was a 74 overall. So that's the problem. He should definitely be back in the game, but the rating is just so far off.
Yeah, and so that drives me nuts. It doesn't make any sense. Again, it has nothing to do with politics. It's based the ratings. If you're going to put them in the game, take Father Time into effect, as you just referenced.
Right. All right, Zach, got some news. It just broke a few minutes ago in the NFL. Jalen Ramsey and the LA Rams, massive contract extension for the 615 native Jalen Ramsey. 5 years, $105 million, an average of $21 million per year, the largest contract by a cornerback ever. And David Mulgeta, once again, is the best agent in the NFL right now. I don't think anybody has bigger contracts or as many big contracts as that guy. So congrats to Jalen Ramsey for getting $100 million as a corner. Absurd, a lot of money.
Yeah, that's wild. Look, Jalen Ramsey's really good though, right? So he's got a big mouth. He's a diva, all that stuff, but he's really, really good.
Jacob says he'll never see the end of that deal. So that most players that sign deals that are 5 years long don't see the end of that deal.
Well, yeah, he's 25. How long's the deal?
5 years.
So he'll be 30 when it's up.
5-year extension. So that didn't even count this season. So six more years of the Rams. Yeah, he's probably going to get traded before he's 30 years old. Yeah. That's how it works.
But it's about the guaranteed money, right? What's the signing bonus? Like Deshaun Watson staying up till 2:00 in the morning to see it hit his bank account. I would too. I'd be
drinking
a lot of high noons at midnight.
I do not have any guaranteed numbers that come out of that yet, but I'm sure that will happen at some point. But all right, guys, solid show here on a Wednesday. It's already Wednesday, which feels great, which means tomorrow's Thursday. Titans Thursday tomorrow with a lot of big topics leading up to the NFL's season opening game, Texans Chiefs.
And before we get out of here, Dennis is correct. They have Kaepernick in the game. They don't even have Clowney in the game yet.
When I was wondering about that,
they don't. They haven't updated the rosters. It's ridiculous.
But why wasn't Clowney a free agent?
But to play online, to play against somebody, you don't. Free agency doesn't really matter, right?
Again, I'm not right. I see what you're saying.
So you're dealing with Vic Beasley and Harold Landry.
Right, I get you now. I get you. But I didn't know if that could have been a Clowney thing of not being in the game because he hadn't signed off on something yet. I don't know. All right.
No, it's EA being unbelievable.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Good show. We'll see you tomorrow. Again, the Tighten Up Podcast episode out this morning on the A to Z Sports Podcast Network. Buck will be back tonight with A to Z Sports Primetime. Speaking of Clowney, Clowney's on the practice field today for the Titans for the first time. I was wrong yesterday. I got my days mixed up. But Clowney back on the field for the first time as a Titan today. We'll have coverage for that. So stay tuned to our social media at A to Z Sports on Instagram and Twitter, A to Z Sports Nashville on Facebook. Thanks for watching, guys. See you later.
Adios.